Welcome back to another torch video. This time I'm looking at the Tiny Monster 9K Tac. Nitecore sent this in for review, so I'm going to do what I usually do, go through the included items, and then we'll have a look later on at some beam shots. Quite nice presentation with the box, got a foam padding around there, keeps it all protected. You do have your user guide and your warranty card. They've also included a Type A to a Type C cable. And we've also got a stainless steel clip. With the wrist strap on this, they've also given you a bit of string just to help you loop it through. And they've also shown you that on the other piece of paper that's included. This is the supplied holster, and it's more of a tactical style, which is fitting with the particular model because it is obviously a tactical style torch. It is quite thick. It does have a bit of resistance, so sort of doubled over on the front part with the nylon, so that's quite stiff. Moving on to the torch, first thing that I noticed with this is it is quite small, at least in terms of the length. It does have a bit of weight though, with that battery included. On the underside you can see you have your main switch and the mode switch, which is sort of flush. That is metal, has a sort of knurling pattern on it as well. Moving over to the head section, you can see quite a few grooves on this, although they're not super deep. There's a fair number of them going around. Open up the port cover, and there is your Type C charging port. A little bit fiddly to push that down, so just make sure that it is fully sealed and covering the port. Out of the box, this also comes with a protective cover over the front of the lens. And you can see we have an array of 9 LEDs, XP-L2HD. And each of them has a sort of mini reflector, a smooth reflector, though it's quite shallow. On the top, we've got the stainless steel bezel. Evidently the power on this is a bit higher than the non-tac version, although there isn't much in it. And there's your tactical ring at the bottom. That's fixed in place, it's sort of part of the moulding on the metal. Overall fit and finish, typical with a Nitecore, feels pretty good in the hand. I do like the design of this, it is quite comfortable to hold. It's also quite well balanced, it isn't too front heavy, which you would expect just by looking at it. That's obviously down to distribution with the battery and the weight. Couple of nice features that they have on this. You do have an LED indicator for the battery. Just show you putting it into the holster now. It is quite a tight fit. Only one direction on this, head up of course. Bottom part is open. They usually do that just to let water out so it doesn't fill up and soak the torch through. Here's the clip. I'll just show you. You have two positions where you can put this up or down. Personally, I just prefer it without the clip myself, but that is an option for if you want to use it. Moving on to the UI now, half press for your momentary, full press is your on and off, and it does remember your last power level or the strobe mode. When you have it powered on, just hit the mode switch and that will cycle through the power levels from low to high. If you want to get to the turbo, all you need to do is just push in and hold the mode switch and it stays on as long as it's held down. Next up we've got the strobe, so just double press on the mode switch, single press will take you back to your last power level. They've also included a lockout on this torch, which is nice to see, and that locks both switches out. I've got the instructions up there on the screen for you. That's quite useful because it does stick out the main switch, and then it's just a triple press to unlock that. You also get your battery level indicator with the voltage flashing out when you've done that. Onto the charging now, you can see this does support quick charge up to 12 volts if your adapter can output that. You're looking around about 3 to 5 hours charge time. What I do is put the user guide on screen for you now so you can go through, pause that if you want to, have a look and just check out some of the functions which I've shown you. UI is easy enough to pick up on this torch, don't really have any big complaints as far as that goes. I've just put the power levels on screen for you so you can see that and the approximate run times. Now we're going to go on to the beam shots. What I've done with this is I've gone ultra wide because it is a very floody beam on this particular torch. I've started it off at the ultra low. It's not super low, it's around 30 lumens, but because it's so spread out, you're not going to get a huge range out of this torch. You're looking around about 280 meters at the turbo mode. One thing to note with the turbo is the runtime is, as I would expect, quite limited. It's around about 7 seconds. And what that means in practical terms is after that time it drops down to a power level which seems to be sort of halfway between the high and the turbo. I do wish there was an extra power level to pick that rather than having to wait for it to drop down, but that's what they've decided to do on this torch. So when it gets hot, that turbo runtime could be as little as 2 or 3 seconds. I'll carry on now with a few beam shots and I'll give you some of my thoughts and a summary at the end of the video. Just a quick note on the runtime that I did at the high level. It does hold the power output quite well. There's a very gradual decline, but it held it over 10 minutes and then there's a fairly steep drop off. The most obvious downside with this torch, and this won't be a shock to anybody, is the fact that the battery is built in. I know that it's covered with your warranty period for 2 years. I would much prefer to be able to get to the battery myself and have an option to change that. I just think it makes much more sense long term to have that option for users. Also would have liked to have seen that extra power level. I do like the body design. That does work quite well for me. It's very pocket friendly, it's quite compact, has a nice tactical feel and feels well balanced. That's just those two obvious issues to me would give me some reservations on if I would buy this myself. As usual, do leave a comment below, be interested to hear what you think about this, and thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.